Hey, welcome to Ben's Boats. My name is Ben. We're back out here working on this 1999 MasterCraft MariStar. In the last video, I went over what's wrong with this engine. Today's video is a little different. If all goes well today, we're going to have the engine out and stripped down by the end of the day. The new block arrives in a couple days and I gotta have this ready before then. Now I've got the cover on this thing and I've done a little bit of work with the camera off. I gotta get it down to the shop. We're going to take the cover off and I'll show you what I mean. We're going to go ahead and hook this thing to the truck and get it down to the shop. Well, here she is in the shop. It's going to be a long day ahead of us, and it's a hot one out here. We got to get the cover off this thing. I'll show you the inside, everything I got done yesterday, and then we'll pull the engine out of this thing, get it stripped down. Let's do it. Well, here she is, all in the shop. You can see it looks a little different from last time. I got the rear seat out. All the closeouts are down. It's all here. It's not all here. Some of it's back in my house. Regardless, we're here today to pick this engine out with this hoist right here. Got a few things disconnected. There's a few things I still got to pop off. There's a fuel line. There's the exhaust clamps back there. I also want to pull all the oil out of this thing before I get it out so I don't make a huge mess. Let's go ahead and take care of all this. It's not too bad to get the oil out of this thing. There's this extraction line that goes all the way down to the bottom of the oil pan. On other boats, you got to pull out the dipstick here. That takes forever. I've got an extractor right there. Let's get to it. 2 wrenches and counterclockwise. There we go. Get this on so it doesn't make a mess. Perfect. That's it. While we're here, I want to have a look underneath this breather and see what we're looking like down the intake. Get this off. Oh, there's evidence of oil up here already. Uh-oh. Oh boy. This whole thing was flooded with oil. Look at the throttle body area. Ugh. Oh yeah, I'm gonna have to clean this intake before it goes back together. There's nothing but oil all in this poor thing. Yuck. Well, I thought we were done with the oil, but that's not oil at all. That is water that we just sucked out of that boat. There is still at least a gallon of water and emulsified oil in this boat. So we're gonna have to do this twice to get all this fluid out. There's that chocolate milk. There's still plenty more we gotta get out of this thing. Alright, well, most of the oil's out of this thing. Gotta get these hose clamps off, broken loose, and then we should be pretty much ready to pop these motor mount, transmission mount bolts loose and get this thing out of here. A little bit of lube makes everything better. Before I can get this engine out, I gotta get all the underwater gear off the bottom. Oh, by all, I mean the prop and the shaft out of the bottom of the boat. The reason we gotta do that is this is a V-drive. If you look down there, that's the coupler where the shaft comes all the way through the boat and mounts to the transmission. So we gotta take all this out before we can remove the engine. There's a cotter pin we gotta get out first. And now the prop, or at least we gotta loosen it. Okay, there's the nut and the shaft part. This is a keyed prop, so I gotta go get a puller. Well, this prop's being a real pain, so time for fire. All the underwater gear. The part's a bit of a pain, but we got it. It's almost time to get this motor out. We are 8 bolts away from having this engine out. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 on each side for the motor mounts. Let's get them out, lift this thing out of here. Uh-oh, washer. And that one's missing a washer, okay? Last one. Here we are. She is all unbolted. It's time to lift this puppy out of here. All right, she's all hooked up. Let's lift this puppy. There's one 5.7 liter V8 plus a 63 IV transmission hanging in the air. It always blows my mind seeing things like this hanging in the air. You don't think it should be possible, but there it is. I gotta get the boat out from underneath here. I'll rinse out the hull, but first I want to get some of the accessories off this engine, get it stripped down. Boat is out, engine is up. Let's go ahead and get this thing lowered down a little bit so I can work on her. Well, here she sits. Transmission, engine, everything. It's all here. Weird to see it out of the boat. This is probably the first time this engine's ever been out of this boat. Judging by the hardware, I think that's true. We can get a better look at the block now and the cracks. Let's go over to this side. You can see, oh yeah, right there's that big old crack we found in the first video. And it is, yeah, that's really bad. Oh, it's cracked here, here, all over the place down here. Not a pretty sight. Now my memory's good, but it's not great. I'm gonna snap some pictures of this thing before I start taking anything apart so I can use them for reference when the new engine comes in. Well, there's nothing left to it but to do it, so here we go. Let's start taking off things one bolt at a time and document the process as I go. Hopefully, don't mess anything up. We're gonna start with these manifolds here, port and starboard side. They're connected with this crossover pipe. Let's get it off. Alright, well these manifolds are pretty heavy, so this is going to be fun to do with one person, but we'll see what I can make happen. And of course, this one's too close to the manifold to get it with my ratchet. Never easy, is it? This is not a game I'm willing to play with this thing. Bet you that'll do it. Oh boy, maybe not. What kind of stupid design is this? Okay, that's on. Let's see if this works. Aha! It did. Just took a little bit of clearance in. Ooh, hot. There it is. Lord. Oh my. Okay. Okay, there's one side done. Let's get this other manifold off. Alright. Here we go. Why are these so heavy? Check this out. I just took off the water inlet hose and look up in there. This thing is packed full of all kinds of stuff from the lake. This thing is not very well cared for. Between the overheat and the freeze, this thing has seen a lot of thermal cycles and not for the better either. I'm gonna go ahead and get the transmission lines off this thing. These go up to the oil cooler there, so I gotta get these off so I can separate that from the engine. Okay, well they are off of the transmission and draining down here. We got water in our transmission. So that means this thing's also going to need a new transmission cooler. I don't want to try to repair that. These are a pain. There's a bunch of internal lines, hoses, and whatnot that are probably broken. I'm just going to get a new one. Get this off. I've had these paper towels here for several hours, try to soak up all that oil down in the intake. Oh, it looks like it actually did it. Ugh, much better. Also, while we're on the topic of pointing things out, take a look down inside this exhaust port here. Look at all that oil. Ugh, that is not supposed to be there. Yikes, every one of these looks completely different. This engine was tired anyways. But that's exactly why I'm here, to get this thing fixed up and back on the water. Let's keep working. I'm gonna get all the accessories off the front of the engine. That's the water pump, the pulleys, the harmonic balancer, also the alternator. It all needs to come off the front of this engine. Let's do it. This connects the water circulating pump to the thermostat housing and sends water all around the engine. There's a good chance there's a ton of water in here. We're about to make a big mess. There it goes. Whew. Yep, I had a feeling we'd get a bit of a mess. Looks like there's two little nuts underneath the ECU bracket that holds this thermostat housing in place. I'm gonna see if I can't get those off there and keep working. Oh, very, very tight area to work. Oh yeah, what a mess. Oh boy. So oily, good grief, everything's just covered. This poor thing had a rough last few minutes of life. Okay, well, I'm pretty much at a standstill. I can't do a whole lot until I set this thing down, because this bolt that holds this cover on is holding this bracket, which is holding the entire engine up. So this has to be on the ground before I can go any further. Let's set it down. All right, let's get this distributor out of here, shall we? It is very, kind of see what this is here. The rotation in it with this square right here. Yep, just like that. Now, in theory, yep, ooh, look at the milk on there. Yeah. Oof, even that's gross. All right, let's pop this intake off. These all the same? I'm gonna go with yes. Brace for impact. Yeah, if you want to grab that, we'll go around the tripod. Still got a PCB line connected. There it is. Alright, come up and around on the camera. Ooh, Lord. Ooh, ooh, ooh. This is horrible. Yuck.
Yikes, dude.
Well, here's our culprit. Can you see it? Maybe you can now. Check this out. We got a crack going from there all the way up into there. The head itself is actually cracked right there. It's hard for you to see, but I can feel with my finger right there. It's not supposed to be like that. This is, this side seemed to fare a lot worse than this one. Let me see. I can't see any visible cracks on this side. I mean, this gasket is falling right here. Oh wait, I take that back. Oh my gosh, there's a piece of block. Oh geez. Hold on. Right as I was saying the other side was better. Look at this. There's an entire hole right there behind this. Oh my gosh, that's bad. What happened to that cylinder? Oh, jeez. Yep, okay. That's a bad day there. Good thing we pulled this. There was absolutely no saving this engine. This thing is completely done. I mean, yeah, there's chunks of engine head just laying in the valley now. Good night. That's some pretty nasty carnage, but it's a good thing we got a whole new engine on the way. For now, let's keep on chugging, stripping this thing down. All right, let's see what's behind these valve covers. Now I'm really, really intrigued. Oof. Well, more of the same, I guess. More emulsified milky oil. Yuck. Ooh. Let's see stress fractures in this head. God almighty. This did not see a pleasant end. I need to work on splitting the transmission now. Got to get these bolts out, and I'll eventually get the bell housing off too. Let's go ahead and lift the back of the motor, set it on the bell housing, and then we can go ahead and take off the transmission. Is it safe? Sorta. Will it work? Yes. Much better. There's a series of about 7 bolts I have to get off of this transmission to get off of the bell housing before we can split these two, so let's do that. All right, this side bolts, and we'll have the transmission off. How strong you feeling, Franklin? Huh, well, that was easy enough, huh?
Are you serious right now?
Yeah, I was expecting that to be a much bigger pain, but she is. Let's get this bell housing apart. All right, with that out of the way, we can finally get all the accessories off the front like we wanted to do a couple hours ago, but now we have a chance. Yep, there it is. Okay. And my personal favorites, the water circulator pump. Whew. Get our crank pulley off of there and the harmonic balancer next. Whew. I really like dropping things today. Finally. That took forever and was a ton of work. I'm a mess, but there's still some more to do. I gotta get this flywheel off before I can lift this thing up. After the flywheel, we're basically done. I gotta get the oil pan off, but that's pretty stinking easy. I'm gonna go ahead and take this flywheel off, then get this thing in the air. It's been a long day to getting the motor out of that thing and putting it all on that rack over there. It's a, whew, we've been at it a while, but we're almost to the end. Last thing we gotta do is get this oil pan off here. There's a lot of bolts and nuts and screws that go all the way around on both sides of the engine. We're gonna bust those off real quick and basically we're done. Oh boy. Oh, there's still a lot of oil in here. Oh Lord. I'm fixing to make a big mess and I've got no pig mats over here. Oh well. Floor will clean, I guess. You might get oil on you. You know, it's a darn thing this thing died the way it did, because everything looks pretty good in here. I mean, I've got all my crank journals and all my bearings. They all look in place. Nothing looks spun. Of course, you know, it's hard to tell from way out here, but I don't need to take off any of these end caps or anything. I'm getting a whole new rotating assembly, but this windage tray is just covered in a thick layer of sludge and oil, and look, even the underside, just a huge mess. So this is gonna be fun to clean. I gotta get this oil pump off here as well, and the pickup tube, and that. Not done just yet, but we're close. Well, that's better. It's not perfect, but a whole lot better than it was. Got the Old Faithful here. Gonna go ahead and buzz off this windage tray and the oil pump, and this block is pretty much stripped all the way down. Catch. Last bolt for the windage tray, I think. Oh, and oil pump both at once. Okay, here we go. Oh Lord. Okay, there it is. Whew. All right. Gotta clean this sucker up. Got a nice clean windage tray and oil. We got a nice clean windage tray and oil pan. They're all here. They're all drying. Looks good. A lot better than before. It's had a little more oil in it. I'm letting this drain hose drip onto my pig mats here, just like that. The engine is completely stripped down, or as far as I'm going to get it for now. My new engine is going to come with a timing cover, all the gaskets, put it back together. I believe it comes with these studs installed too, so I shouldn't have to worry about taking any of that off, including oil filter and spark plugs too. It should come with every bit of that. It's time to put this thing on a pallet and get it out of here. Well, there she is. One sad and very, very broken 57350 V8 engine. There's one more thing I want to do before I call it a night. This transmission is full of fluid and water, and I got to get all of that out. There's a drain plug way down here. That's the best way to do it. Oh, that wasn't even tight. That's scary. Oh boy. Ooh, what a mess. But pretty colors. Well, the engine's out there. Transmission is in here draining. There's a very clean MariStar sitting right there. I don't know if you can see her. There she sits through all the gear. Hey there. We're out here again working on this MariStar's engine. I've done a little bit of work with the cameras off. Let me show you what I got. This bilge is completely clean. I got it all tidied out up there, back here. Looks a lot better. This was greasy, this was gross and nasty. None of that anymore. Check out what we have here. This is a remanufactured engine by the guys at Pro Power Engines here in Georgia, the Georgia division. This is a really good looking block. There's nothing wrong with it. It's a GM 350. It's a throttle body block, so it has the block off already down here for the fuel pump, so I don't need to worry about any of that. It's got everything I need to put everything on this shelf onto this block. That's our goal for today. This new block is completely remanufactured, which means it's had some miles on it before, but people have gone through it, so it's got new rotating assembly, pistons, valves, crankshaft, all that's new or made like new. So effectively, it's a 0 hours, 0 mile engine that we're putting in the MariStar. I was in here last night, got this thing on my engine stand here. I got it in a plastic bag, kind of covered up so I keep the dust off of it. But today's goal is to put it in that boat. It might take me a little longer than one day, but I've got today and tomorrow to get this built and in that boat. Let's try to do it. That's enough talking for today. Let's get this baby unwrapped and get to work. Check this out. A whole new, well, new to me, remanufactured block. Everything's here. We got our valves, all the rockers, valve springs, keepers, push rods, pistons, crank. I mean, take a look at this rotating assembly down here. I mean, it's all completely rehoned, remanufactured, ready to run. Well, ready to run after several hours of work. We are going to start today on the back side of the engine. So this is technically the front over here. This is where all the accessories, belt drives, alternator, water pumps, all that goes up there. This is the back, the power takeoff area. I got to start by putting in a rear main seal so I can get my oil pan on. I got to put my timing cover on. I want all that RTV to set while we're doing all the other work. So we're going to start with the bottom end of this engine, which is a little non-conventional, but that's where we're going to begin. Now there's a lot of things we got to put underneath this engine here. We got the oil filter adapter, we got the oil pump, oil pan, windage tray, all kinds of stuff we got to put on. So let's flip this thing over and get going. Now in theory, you should just pull this pin and spin this whole thing upside down. Let's try it. Yep, there she is. Okay, one upside down engine. Just take a look at this sucker. I mean, look inside those cylinder bores. It's hard for you guys to see, but this is just beautiful. Brand new pistons, brand new rods, return crank, rehoned block. This is just absolutely perfect. The only blemish I can find is a little bit of surface rust on the crank right there, but aside from that, this seems just about perfect, and I cannot wait to put this sucker together. We're going to start over here with the rear main seal. I have to sneak this thing in between this bracketry. I've already measured it. It should fit. My gasket kit, which is right there, came with a new rear main seal. So we're going to pop this out, put a new one in, put it on the engine. Let's do it. Oh yeah. Should be everything we need to build this motor. Boy, there's a lot of stuff in here. I want to keep this sucker closed so we don't let any dirt in here. So let's tidy this up and see if we can't get this rear main seal R&R'd. Alright, in theory, this should just pry right out of this housing. Pop a new one in. There it is, one rear main seal. If you notice, this has a lip that captures that seal so you can't actually drive it in too far. Let's clean up this mounting surface here. I'm gonna go ahead and oil up the outside of this with some engine oil. I'm gonna be using a lot of this today to keep things nice and lubricated as we move throughout the day. All right, let's go ahead with the install. I don't have a seal installer, but should be able just to press these in by hand without too much difficulty. All right, a little bit of oil here. Yeah, looks good. Cleaned up the gasket surface back here. Oil that up and stick our new gasket to it, and we'll go in. Let's see if we can't sneak this sucker in here. Put the gasket on the dowel and press this puppy in place. Nice. Perfect. We're out here working. I got a little bit more done. I got the timing cover on and this oil filter adapter in place. The reason I didn't record is this thing has been acting up all morning. I snapped the battery in and it immediately gives me an error that says no battery. Wait, there it is. Yeah. So, anywho, that's dead. We got a problem. So you get me with this camera for the rest of the day. Woohoo! Seal's in, the adapter's in, timing cover's on. Let's keep going. The next step is the oil pump. I've got it sitting right behind me. Let's go ahead and pop it on. We have the drive for the distributor coming down into our oil pump housing. Pickup is on. Let's go ahead and slot this in right here. There's 2 locator pins that hold it in place. And it just sort of sits down like that. Alright, we can sneak the windage tray in now. Just like that. And the same bolt that holds on the oil pump also holds on one of the windage tray fasteners. So let's get those in place. Of course, I've got everything nicely cataloged, so nothing was missed when I tore this thing apart. There you go. I'm just test fitting this oil pan gasket right now. I got to add some RTV in the corners of the timing cover here. Back there at the rear main seal housing, just goop that up pretty good. From there, we ought to be able to set this down, put down our oil pan, and get going. We'll be using this Permatex Ultra Black gasket maker today in all the areas that need just a little bit of this. Got her all gooped up. Let's go down with our gasket set now. And making sure to press it nice and evenly down into that RTV that we just laid. Just like that. Alright, we got our oil pan here. Let's go ahead and set this down and see where we stand. Looks pretty good to me. Got these big long stiffeners that run the whole length of the oil pan and keep it from bending when you tighten things down. Let's put them on. Next thing we got to put on is this harmonic balancer here on the very front of the engine. Now it's customary to add a little dab of RTV to this key down here to keep it from coming out. That's exactly what I'm going to do. I've oiled up both the inside and outside surfaces of my harmonic balancer here. Let's go ahead and slide on the shaft. I got myself a harmonic balancer installer here in the old Alabama fit-all. Let's see what we can't make happen. Alright, and a quick spin to make sure we're all good. Just like that. This engine is coming together great. Let's flip it over and start work on the top end now. And let her spin. This thing's getting heavy. There she is. Oof. Let's go ahead and put all the accessories on the front of this engine. Then we can work on the intake manifold and do all that. Okay, let's start off with our water pump. We got some new gaskets here. Go ahead and get this in place and see what we got. You're supposed to install these bolts with a little bit of engine oil, and that's what I've got on here. So let's go ahead and tickle these in. And 2. All right, there's all 4 started. Let's run them home. I bet you that's tight enough. Go ahead and get our alternator on as well. I want to get that down first so it can mess with this later. We got 2 bolts here for the alternator bracket and the 3rd one up here for the hanger. So let's go ahead and see what we can make happen. Kind of goes like this, and then these 2 sort of just wiggle their way on in home. Okay, now we'll go on with the raw water pump. Let's get this thing situated. Now I don't know how tight this is supposed to be, so we're just gonna get it pretty stinking. How's that sound? About right there. All the accessories are on the front of the engine here, looking pretty good. Let's go ahead and get that intake manifold set up. Alright, let's figure out which of these goes where and how they go. So we've got some locator pins on the back of each of these gaskets with water ports on either side. So, sure, okay. We got to pop these off, add a bead of silicone to the china wall here. I've already cleaned it with acetone, got it nice and tidied up. You're going to get a big oil leak out of these corners if you don't add a good bead all the way across here and into this gasket right here. So you got to have a really good bead of silicone on here. So let's go ahead and do that. Start over here. Let's really gob it up. A nice big 1/4 inch bead. Then a good gob in the corners. Now for the front. The more the merrier. I'm going to let that tack up for about 15 minutes now. I'm not going to touch it. Just leave it the way it is. I'm going to set the intake manifold gaskets down, let them sit, wait, and then we'll go ahead and put the manifold on top of there so it's all good to go. Gasket time. Okay. I'm going to let that tack up and not do a single thing. I'm going to work on cleaning up the manifold itself. Okay, this has been sitting for a little while now. Let's go ahead and put the intake manifold on. Alright, let's try to do this in one fell swoop. Kind of like that. Get a wiggle. Get her aligned. Sure. Alright, well that looks good. Get some bolts in here. Don't want to do any more than snug on these right now. Sorry. Just like that. Okay, I'm going to let these sit for a little while. Looks like we got a great seal on the walls in the front and the back. Now there's a specific torque sequence to these intake bolts. The front of the engine is here, so I kind of got it reversed right now, but we do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then repeat. You see the instructions there. I'm going to go ahead and complete this process, and I'll check back with you when we're done. I got a gasket maker applied to the intake manifold. Let's go ahead and get this installed. There we go. Okay. Had to move the bracket out of the wrong position, but that's okay. Let's keep working. ECU goes there with those 2 little tiny nuts underneath it. I'm going to get these valve covers on, so I'll quit dropping stuff down inside here. I don't really want to have to clean this because it's already clean, so let's put some valve covers on. Now I don't have to worry about stuff getting down inside here. Alright, it's time to get this thing in time. I've messed around enough with these wires here. What we got to do is find top dead center on cylinder 1. Now, to do that, I'm going to install a singular spark plug all the way up there on cylinder 1, which is right there. And when I feel compression getting tight, we're going to go ahead and take the spark plug out and see where we are on the timing mark. And from there, we can figure out that we're at top dead center on compression, cylinder 1. Alright, I got a couple bolts on the crank now. We're going to go ahead and spin this thing over with this bar and feel for compression on cylinder 1. There it goes. I believe we're top dead center, cylinder 1. Okay, well I've got this thing, what I believe is cylinder 1 top dead center. The way to really find out is pull a valve cover off and see what the rocker arms are doing. I'm going to do that real quick. Now both of these rocker arms should be pretty loose as the valve springs are completely depressed. Yep, and yeah. Alright, we are in compression on the cylinder, top dead center, confirmed. These things are loosey-goosey as they should be. Alright, cool. Let's put this back on. I'm out here again. It's the next morning. We're still working on this engine. Last night we were working on putting the distributor in, getting this thing in time before I go ahead and put those manifolds on. Now I got to get the cap off this distributor so I can see where the rotor's pointing. From there, I'm going to line it up with the corresponding cylinder 1 on this engine, put it in time, we should be good to go. There's a slot in the oil pump shaft which drives the distributor to send spark to all these spark plugs. So what we got to do is take the screwdriver, go way down inside here and align that with our distributor drive. As we drop this down, these gears are going to mesh with the gears in the back of the cam. Kind of like that. Alright, I got it pretty much where it needs to be. I'm going to go ahead and loosely tighten my distributor hold down nut here. I can move this body a whole lot and get what we need to get out of it. I'm doing some work on all this wiring here. It's a bit of a mess. I had to make a custom harness for something, but I'll check back with you guys when I make some progress. Hello, housing. What's up, man? Good, how are you? Coming to check on the boat. She's sitting right there. Hey, Keith. What? Sorry about the lack of updates. There were a lot of people milling about the shop making a lot of noise, but here we are. Check it out. It's in the air above the boat. We're going to set this thing down just a second here. I've got to replace a blower hose, and we'll get it in. Well, that was a lot of work, but we got this engine in. Alignment looked great. I just put the shaft coupler, everything in place. We are all in. We're all together. Check it out. Alignment is perfect, just like how it went in. Boy, it sure does look good in here. Hot dog. I've got this whole workshop to clean up and then a lake test for this thing, but I'm going to leave you guys off here. Once again, thanks for watching. Like it if you liked it. Subscribe if you want to stick around. Let me know how I did down in the comments below, and I'll catch you in the next one.